Let me take you to the land of Uz. A man lived there. His name was Job. Now Job was not just a man of wealth, he was a man of depth. His barns were full, his flocks uncountable, his children many and joyful. But above all these things, Job had a heart bowed before God. He was upright, blameless, a man who turned away from evil, like one who knew that even the smallest stain can ruin the whitest garment. But one day, heaven became a courtroom. The adversary stood before God and said, "Does Job fear you for nothing? Strip him of his blessings, and he will curse you to your face." And so, the hedge around Job was lowered. Beloved, life sometimes feels like that. Have you ever been in a season when it seems God has allowed the enemy to pull the rug from beneath your feet? The car breaks down, the job is gone, your health fails, friends scatter like smoke, and you ask, "Why me, Lord?" Job lost his wealth. Raiders took his oxen, fire burned his sheep, enemies carried away his camels. Messenger after messenger brought news that shattered his world. Then, as though that wasn't enough, a great wind struck the house where his children feasted, and in one day, just one day, the richest man in the East became the poorest. The happiest father became childless. Now here's where the story shakes me. Job tore his robe, shaved his head, and fell to the ground, not cursing, not complaining, but in worship. "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." What kind of faith is this? What kind of soul looks into the ashes of loss and still says, "Blessed be his name"? This is the kind of faith that isn't tied to circumstances. A faith that says, even if the gifts go, I still trust the giver. But the enemy wasn't done. He struck Job with sores from head to toe. His skin itched, cracked, and oozed. The mighty man of Uz sat among ashes, scraping himself with pottery. His wife, broken by grief, looked at him and said, "Do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die." Sometimes even the closest to us won't understand our pain. But listen to Job's response. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? Job's friends came. They sat with him in silence for 7 days. But when they opened their mouths, they didn't comfort. Oh no, they accused. They said, "Surely you've sinned, Job. Surely this suffering is your fault." Isn't that how people are? When you fall, instead of lifting you, some dissect your pain, search for your sins, try to make sense of your suffering by blaming you. But the truth of Job's story is this: sometimes suffering is not punishment. Sometimes pain is the stage where your faith will be proven genuine. Job wrestled, he cried, he asked why, he argued with God. His soul was raw, and yet he never turned his back on God. He never cursed him. He kept talking to God, even when he didn't understand him. That, my friends, is faith. Not the absence of questions, but the refusal to walk away. And then, from the whirlwind, God spoke. Not with explanations, but with revelation. He didn't answer Job's why. Instead, he reminded Job of who he is. "Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Do you command the morning?" God didn't minimize Job's pain, he magnified his presence. And in that revelation, Job's heart found peace. He said, "I had heard of you with my ears, but now my eyes have seen you." And here comes the beauty. God restored Job, twice as much as he had before. He gave him more children, more flocks, more honor. But the true treasure wasn't in the restoration of things. The real gift was in Job's transformation. He went from hearing about God to truly knowing Him. Beloved, Job's story is not just ancient history. It is a mirror. You and I are Job. We face storms, losses, betrayals, sicknesses, but hear me, your suffering is not the end. It may be the furnace, but furnaces refine gold. It may be the valley, but valleys grow the deepest roots. So when life hits you hard, fall to the ground if you must, cry if you must, wrestle if you must, but don't let go of God. Because the same God who allowed the storm is the God who will bring you through it. And on the other side, you will not just have restoration, you will have revelation. The story of Job whispers to every soul in pain, hold on, keep the faith. There is more to your story than this chapter.